All right, this video is also to help you prepare for your test and to do your practice test. Remember, this is your practice test. Today, or right now, I'm going to teach you 2.2, standard 2.2. In some areas, I also call this 2.2a, so I apologize for the mix-up, but this is the one that's going to tell you the difference between physical and chemical changes, okay? Help you identify them. So, physical changes. Okay, physical changes, chemical changes. Okay, physical changes occur when you make mixtures, when nothing new is formed. So you have two things that you mix together, but there's no chemical reaction. They are just mixed in one way or another, or separated in one way or another, but there's nothing new formed. So this is a change that occurs where physical properties may change, but there is no change in chemical composition. Okay, so this is basically ideas have to do with like cutting. If I took a piece of paper and I cut it all up, this is still a physical change because it's still paper, right? It's just a smaller piece of paper. Another example are phase changes. Okay, I use this term a lot. What do phase changes mean? Phase changes mean I go from solid to liquid to gas, or any combination of those, transition between these physical states. Anytime that happens, melting, boiling, sublimation, evaporating, condensing, freezing, depositing, these are all examples of phase changes, okay, or changes in physical state. Another example is separating. Okay, so we filter things, right? Filter the liquid from the solid. Filtering is separating based on particle size. That is a physical change. We also have decanting. That's where you pour the top layer of something off and leave the bottom layer behind. Sometimes we do this if we are separating oil from water. Sometimes we might use decanting if we have a solid at the bottom that's a higher density that's sunk to the bottom and we want to pour the water or the liquid off that it's mixed in with. This is also a physical change. You're separating two things. Distillation is another example of a physical change. You're boiling the water off and collecting it somewhere else and leaving the other liquid or solid behind. So we separate based on boiling point with that one. Okay, so these are all examples of physical changes. I am not creating anything new. I'm just separating it, changing its physical state, or changing its form. A chemical change, however, is a change to chemical composition. Okay, another way of saying that is creating a new substance is another way of saying a chemical change. Okay, so examples are burning. All right, when I burn something, I burn gasoline, I burn paper, wood. I'm taking that substance, I'm reacting it with oxygen, and I'm producing carbon dioxide, water, and sometimes some ashes or other oxides. Okay, so something new is being formed. You can see it because it used to have paper there, and now there's this gray, black ash instead. Or there used to be a log there, and it was nice and fresh looking, and now it's just this like charcoaly looking thing. So it's a new thing. Yes, this is also physical properties are also changing, but the way that you differentiate between them is something new is also being formed. Okay, so another example is like cellular respiration or photosynthesis, because your body is either respirating, which means it's taking the sugars and turning it into carbon dioxide and water using the oxygen you breathe in, or plants with photosynthesis are taking carbon dioxide and water using the energy of the sun to produce the sugars for the plants or the structure of the plant. So something new is being formed in these ones. We also saw in your lab.
Good afternoon, teachers.
We also
this
saw.
Is the last call for the Pueblo Ivy League car wash. Thank you in advance for your support. Thank you.
Sorry for the interruption. We also saw in your lab when you mix those two clear solutions and you got that white kind of cloudy solid, that was something new being formed, right? That's a chemical change. Okay, so in your lovely little practice test, there's lots of other examples. Anything that has to do with reacting, like rusting is where metal reacts with air. Before you had this nice shiny metal, now you have this orange, gray, brittle substance. So it's a completely new substance being formed. So rusting is another one. Pretty much fermentation happens when sugars are turned into alcohol, and anything that talks about burning or reacting. So we're looking also for the term reacts. Okay, reacts. If it reacts to produce something new, then it's definitely a chemical change. So you need to also be able to describe the different techniques that you use in your physical chemical changes lab. So please make sure you have a look through that table that I'm going to be passing back to you, and see what the evidence was that you chose, so that when you're justifying your response, you have a suitable response there. So from your observations, you should be able to say, oh, I saw this, therefore something new is formed. So like when you mix the two solutions, you saw that white solid, therefore you know that a new substance was formed. Or when you saw the firewood burning, right, you saw that it used to be a huge log and now it's just this black charcoal, right? So it's something new. So you have to be able to justify why you think it's a physical or a chemical change. When you melted the stearic acid in your lab, that was a physical change. The mass didn't change, right? When it was solid, it was a white solid, it had a certain mass. After you melted it, it still had that same mass. So even though it went from solid to a liquid, you know it was still the same substance. Nothing new is formed.